Megan and TJ, is there any like questions that people ask you that you're kind of like, "Oh, why would you ask me something like that?" Or any questions that you wish people would ask you instead?
Not I mean, to answer your first question, not really, because I think that um, like sometimes people just don't know any better. Um,
Nice.
Not
Mhm.
that there's like a proper etiquette, but just sometimes people get information about a certain thing, whether it be adoptive parent or birth parent or whatever label you want to fill in the blank with, that people just assume that they know something about you based on
Mhm.
something that they didn't hear directly from the source. So I think it kind of takes like understanding to know that like not everyone knows you, not everyone knows your story. But the I wish that anyone would ask me anything because it is such an important thing to discuss and be open about, and being able to share our story with people who are going through the same thing is helpful not only to you guys but to us in a way too. Um, so I welcome everything. I try to be an open book and just in the interest of helping other people, but I try not to get bothered by things that might just come from people not having the same experience.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, never. I have never gotten offended or hate when I am 100% an open book. I more times than not, I'm just like, oh man, I wish like that. I wish they would have asked like something, or I wish they would have asked more, because we get in these situations a lot where we get to tell our story, whether it be to prospective adoptive couples or to other birth parents. And I think, like TJ said, it's not only helpful to those people, but it's helpful. It's just it's another layer of like healing, being able to share your story, being able to like converse with people about it and answer questions and know that like we're helping other people through our story, like our pain, it wasn't for nothing. So I've always been a complete open book about anything. So I just always wish that everyone would always ask, I guess, whatever. Like, I know people are always like, I don't know if I should ask that. Like, I don't want to like, come on, like whatever it may be. And my thing is always like, I wish you would ask those questions, because like, I want to answer it. So.
And I think also just being able to share, it's a little different with like in the context of Zoom, but being able to meet in person and hear like prospective adoptive parents' story,
Mhm.
it's just something that you don't really get a lot these days. Like there's a lot of focus on differences and not a lot of what we have in common. And this is something that we all have in common one way
Mhm.
or another, and it brings us together in a really cool way. And I always leave those talks and being able to share like rooting for every single one of you guys, like
Yeah.
feeling like even if I'm just a
Yeah.
little part of that story, or you took a little bit out of something that we shared, like we want the best for you, and yeah, we really mean that.
And you guys
That's
actually answered my question about why do you think it's important to share your story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
also,
Yeah.
Sue, just to piggyback on that question about like
Yeah.
thing that people have asked that, and I really appreciate that you guys are such an open book. All of the speakers have been amazing and have an air of self-confidence, which is, so great. But sadly, some birth parents have really shared that they feel extremely stigmatized and that people do cut down
Mhm.
their self-esteem in the certain ways that they have said things to them. So I wanted to see if that question, I think I wrote it because I wanted
Yeah.
to just educate people on some of this stigma that birth parents
Mhm. Yeah.
face, and maybe try to debunk it a little bit, or just share how that makes you feel if you've ever experienced any bias or prejudice or stigma
Yeah.
around being a birth parent.
Yeah, I remember one time I was sharing with a couple of my old friends, and the way that they worded something, they were like, "It's just amazing that you realized you couldn't do it, and like you took the right choices." And I could see what they were trying to say, and I kind of just let it roll off. But like it wasn't necessarily that we couldn't do it. It's just that in our situation there was a better option. And when you think about people who can't have kids,
Mhm.
or just adoption is their only choice, then it kind of adds a whole new level that those people don't really see necessarily. So I think it's just getting that understanding and being patient with people who don't, who might not necessarily have all that same background experience.
Right. And I think that like that's another cool way, that, sharing our story helps people, right? Because like through sharing our story and through like those conversations with people, we're able to like maybe if there is some sort of bias or something that like they might not necessarily even know that they have within them. And like we're able to then like, correct them a little bit where like all the time, like something, and I don't know if the other birth mothers feel the same, but like something that always bothered me was like when people would always be like if they're asking a question to me or something, they would always word it and be like, when you gave up your child.
Ugh,
And I do not like that wording. Like I say, I placed my child. I didn't give her up. Like that's not something that I did. I didn't give up on her. I didn't, I'm still in her life like that. That's like, and it's not like these people mean anything, it's not like they're trying to be mean about it or anything. It's just because they don't know. It's not something that, is like taught or mainstream like knowledge. So I think that that's another cool way why this stuff is so important. Having these conversations is because we can then, share that information to be like, yeah, I just wanted to say, I like using the terms like I placed my child because you saying that I gave my child up, doesn't represent well what I did, and it hurts when you say that.
mhm. And I think, using correct adoptive language is so important. It
Right.
really is.